what happened is when it would rain, it would wash up in the low areas and they would have water, maybe 6 inches deep. But the grounds are so infested with manure, cow manure, and all that, but even human feces. Everything is the ground. It covers the whole ground, especially inside the boma. Those circles are bomas, and inside those bomas is their huts. And you may see 4 or 5 in a boma. I've seen as many as 12 or 15 in a boma. And inside that is where they keep all their cattle at night.
Primarily, when we were out there, we found that education was kind of the biggest emphasis, because with education, so many things are fixed, and that can solve a lot of the food issues, that can solve literacy issues, when it comes to just being able to read other languages and understand gardening and farming and the Bible, and child marriage is wrong.
Something powerful about the education, if you can get kids in uniforms, it created this protection, they were almost set apart. And there was actually a story of 2 of the girls being saved. They weren't subject to an early marriage. And I just thought that was super powerful. A school uniform alone was powerful enough to
kind of keeps them off limits.
Keeps them off limits.
Hey,
hey, these girls have a brighter future.
Like I said, if we could build a 12-year school today, if somebody came up and said how much it costs to do that, I think it's going to be somewhere between $1 and $2 million.
Why don't I hear me?
I hear you.
You hear me? I guess that's what matters.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. All right. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Pretty good.
All right.
Good,
How
good
about
to be
some quick introductions? Start here.
I'm Rodney Haynes.
You got to be up on that mic.
I'm Rodney Haynes.
That's excellent.
No, that's
Just,
great.
just keep it right up on there.
It sounded
Right
good.
up on there.
You can move the arm
You can,
to where
yeah.
it's
Oh,
like,
good.
It's
good.
just
And
I'm new at
scoot
this.
that way
I'm
a
new
little
at this. I'm old
It's pretty
school.
good. There you go, Rodney.
lean
I'm
back.
Rodney Haynes. I'm his son-in-law. These two's father-in-law.
Yep.
And friend. Yeah.
Gotcha. And
Samuel Richmond.
Samuel Richmond.
That's it.
All right.
That's me.
Jacob Smith. Yeah, son-in-law of this guy over here.
Okay.
Nick
And
Romano.
We know Nick.
Yeah.
Nick's been
Yeah.
on before. All right. Let's talk about this trip to Africa. I think. How'd that start?
How did this particular trip
Yeah.
start? I just needed these guys to go because they're smart and intelligent. And we really got around Sam. And this thing's been going on for a while, about 7 years. And we're just kind of wet behind the ears and not any marketing, just a few people going, kind of supporting it right now. But Sam,
what is this thing?
Oh, this thing is called Mission Kilimanjaro. They're in Tanzania, northern Tanzania, right on the border of Kenya. A little place called Namanga is the city, right on the border. So Norok is the village that we're in Tanzania. And we just came upon it really about 7 years ago through some other friends that I have in Kenya, through some other mission work. But we ended up in Norok, which is a village, a couple hour and a half or so away from Namanga.
I think it means literally Black Rock.
It means the Black Rock.
The Black
yeah.
Rock.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we just happened out there. We were invited and we showed a film, Jesus film, and long story short, we ended up there with the ministry to do 3 different things that I guess we'll get into, spiritually, education, and food and water. But we've been going, and for the last 5 years, I guess, once or twice a year, starting to build on some of those goals, getting a few supporters here and there. It's small. We spend what we bring in. We don't necessarily have a budget, but things are beginning to grow. And so that's when Sam, we got to talking. This is what he does. So we made a trip with the intentions of putting together a film so we can get it out and get the word out and explain more about what we're doing on that. So that's how this trip came together. They're all buddies and thought, good, these 2 guys need to go and be a part of it. And Jake does our website, and Nick has a lot of knowledge and kind of what we do over there, whether it's gardening or growing trees even could be a good benefit, or how to use the soil or those kind of things. So I thought they'd be just a great team to go and accomplish a lot of things while we were there, and I think we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you start doing missions in general?
In general, 2001, started going to Honduras. I've done short-term trips for 15 years, up in about 2015, to Honduras, at different places in Asia, Africa, Middle East, or north, kind of outside Middle East, Tajikistan, up in there. Just short-term trips to support the ministries that were there. And I don't know, 6 years ago, we went to, or in 2012, went to Kenya to a children's home over there. Went there, met this guy that you'll hear more about in a little bit, named Boniface, and Margaret and his wife and kids, and my daughter, his wife. The whole family went at one time to Naomi's village there outside Nairobi. And his wife,
Mai Mahiu.
Mai Mahu, yeah, Mai Mahu. His wife, my daughter, ended up working there for 3 years, and Amber went there and spent some time as well, back in the beginning. But anyway, that's where we met Boniface, and that's how we ended up in Tanzania.
Gotcha.
We can get into more of that story whenever you're ready, but
Yeah.
That's kind of how we got there in a nutshell, into Tanzania.
Yeah.
Yep,
There's Boniface.
But
And Margaret.
Boniface, I mean, I had been doing the short-term things for 15 years roughly, and I began praying. I met Boniface there at Naomi's village, and he had invited me to Tanzania, where he was going down once a year with another pastor and just working with the church down there. What really drew them there was FGM, female genital mutilation. That's what really tugged on their heart, and they were really wanting to get down there full time. So they would go once a year through different people supporting them to get there, spend 2 or 3 weeks. And he invited me to go, and I had been praying for God to put me somewhere where I can just focus and not do short-term things in different parts of the world, but focus in an area. And that's basically what ended up happening through Boniface, going down to visit with him in Tanzania, and took 2 or 3 trips by myself there with him. And we ended up in the village of Narok, and then we ended up bringing a few people on board financially to support what we are doing right now. And that's where we're at. That's where I've been for the last 7 years now.
So what are your goals in Tanzania?
Our goals in Tanzania, we drew our little blocks. That's where I use my blocks.
Go for it. Yeah. Yeah, you've got it. You've been practicing it.
Foundationally, it's spiritual. I mean, we want the people to know Christ and to make him known. That's ultimately it. That's the bottom goal for us there, is for them to know Christ. My understanding is when we got there, the Bibles they received were the first time they'd received ever a Bible or read a Bible. Did not know God that we know, the Creator God. They had their own gods. So foundationally, that's it. And then another little block on it would be education. Our hope is to build a 12-year school where they can get a first world education, and use that maybe even back in their own village for that matter. And then on top of that is water and food. Even though water and food's on the small block on the top, it's the priority right now because we want to get water and food. And the rest will come into play. We've got a little school going right now that goes up to what would be our first grade there, which is basically a nursery, a preschool, a couple different levels of preschool. They call P1 and P2. It's basically our first grade. We've been doing that for about 3 years. So that's going. The spiritual part, the foundational part is happening weekly, several days a week. We've got a Boniface and Margaret who live in Namanga, and they travel there 4 days a week. And then we've got an assistant pastor out in the village who's local to the village that is there daily doing the work as well. And then we have our teachers and our education part for the kids, but the water we don't have, and the food we don't have, except for a little food program for the kids in school on the days that they are there. So that's really our priority right now, is that water, because that takes us a long ways. That's going to open up the door. I was telling Sam, I think on the way here, there's about 350 in our village. But when you get water and we can begin farming. One that's going to help our village, but then others begin from the surrounding area. This area, I've always explained, from the areas that I've been in, is about the size of North Texas. If you took Nacogdoches here to Abilene and maybe the Red River and down to Waco, the areas that I've been in is probably about that big. It's much bigger than that. And there are these little villages all throughout, and not all of them are basically the same. No water, no real available food. They don't have crops in our village, no gardening, no farming. So when you put water in and then have food coming, there is a little market out there fairly close by where other villages come from around, or even the town comes over. And so they'll have a little market where they'll barter or buy some foods, some other things. That they may trade a goat for some rice or something like that. So when we have that, it opens up the door for us to, one, that we want to do is for our family and the village to begin serving others outside the village, but they'll also come to us. And that just opens up the door for us to share the gospel more, our foundational belief, when we were able to do that. The government is actually, the local government, the national government's still kind of on the outskirts a little bit, but we have just become registered with them. Actually, we still got to pay that fee, then we'll be registered with Tanzania itself. But the local government has come out and they really appreciate what we're doing. And they have asked, hey, can you do 4 things? And we'll get behind you, which is water and food, a school, a church, and a pharmacy. Those are the really 5 things, but 4 things that they've asked us to do to kind of be able to give us their support to do that.
What would that support come as?
Come at how
from them, like how would they be supporting you?
I don't know that.
Don't know yet.
No, you hear bad things, quite honestly, about the government there. But being that we're getting registered with the government, the national government, not the local Maasai government. Maasai is the tribe, the people. They certainly are going to, I think they're just going to be supportive as far as allowing us to do what we're doing and not coming in and trying to control it.
They won't get in your way.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. They certainly put a lot of restrictions on us now. We've been just riding the coattails for a while. And but now that we're registered, if we build a building, for example, a school building, we will have to do all that to code, which is fine. We want nice quality infrastructure with this when we do it. We don't want to just put something up, but that's what we've done recently because we don't have any funds really. It's just a handful of people throwing out $30,000 a year to do what we're doing currently. A little more than $30,000 a year, but now we'll have to abide by all the guidelines and all the codes, which means things like our current teachers that we have are from Kenya. They can't teach. It has to be Tanzanian citizens. We have to follow all their codes, and everything has to be from Tanzania. So they'll put some guidelines like that on us that are going to make it more challenging, just mostly financially. But I don't know how they're going to affect us overall. We'll see as we go.
So what was the goal of this particular trip?
To get a film made.
made.
In my short words. You might could explain it a little bit better, but we got to get the story out there. We're needing finances. We're needing funds. We're needing to raise money and get people involved. So if we can get the story out, which are those 3 things, and why we're there, people understand. I mean, I've been there 7 years. I saw it 7 years ago. There was nothing on the ground 7 years ago at all. And we still really don't have a lot. We've got a few little buildings with the school and the church and a little storage house. Not that that's what our goals necessarily are, but it's beginning to happen in a big way. So we need to get the word out. It's not a story that's new to people that have been in missions. You go to a village, you build a school, you teach the word of God, and food and water. That's pretty common out in those areas like that. This is just a place that it hasn't been yet, so we're trying to get there.
Gotcha. And what's your background, Sam?
Yeah. So my background is in film marketing. I own a production company, Lightbox Collective in Tyler. But my background before that is missions. So I was in YWAM, it's where I met my now wife, and we were teaching kids taking them all over the world and teaching them how to use media as a medium to be a voice for the voiceless and to tell stories that could help impact missions and missionaries that are already in country, already doing something, right? So everybody has a heart to do good, usually in the mission field and in the church. Everybody wants to do good, but it's hard when there's not a lot of strategy behind that. And short-term missions have a really hard time having any kind of strategy behind that. And I have my own thoughts about that. But so I, for the last 13 years, I've been trying to figure out, like, how can I use these God-given gifts, being an artist, filmmaker, photographer, designer, for the glory of God and for his kingdom, and being in the commercial world, shooting stuff all over the world. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun being able to tell a short story and convince people to buy something or to believe in something or to try something or to fund something. But over the past, 4 years, that's kind of fallen to the wayside, and my heart has really been yearning to just get back towards the roots and back into why I got into this in the first place, and that's to tell stories. So taking my marketing background and strategic brand architecture background into something like the mission field now that I have all this experience, I had a big heart to be able to, offer, what I do, for Rodney and his team with Mission Kilimanjaro. So when I got invited on the trip, it was a lot of fun. I was like, this is exactly what I've been wanting to do. This is exactly like, this is the start of the Lightbox Missions. It's a nonprofit that we're getting ready to launch this year. And I was like, this is going to be a great kind of base, testing ground for this. I've done lots of these, I call it a vision film, in the past. And essentially it's kind of a strategic framework of, being able to go in, tell the story, explain the problem, and then have a clear CTA, call to action. And, going in, you don't really ever know what's, what is the story? Like what's really going on? What does it look like on the ground? So you kind of have to bootstrap your way through it. And it's a lot more documentary style, but kind of taking this commercial filmmaking approach and being able to have a lot of strategy in that. So my goal was to go kind of get a lay of the land, figure out what the bigger story is, and then, try to capture as much content as we could to kind of develop this vision film out of that for hopefully longer form videos in the future, short documentary, but ultimately to get the word out, to tell people what's going on and to be able to show the lives and bring the viewer, especially here in sheltered America where we don't really know worldview. People don't really get the opportunity to travel and see the world and understand what other cultures look like. And we just see whatever our feeds tell us, or whatever our news stations tell us, or whatever we see in movies. And it's so unrealistic to what it's actually like on the ground. So seeing what they were doing got me really excited. And it was, so that's kind of the background and kind of the story of how I got into that.
So how do you go about telling that story? Like, how do you like your first impressions getting there, and then what that story built into?
Yeah, so we're almost done editing. We have the rough draft. We're almost finished with this vision film, so it's going to be about 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. That just kind of addresses one of the major problems, and that's for me after being there. There's so many things, right? It's you go out there, beautiful culture, beautiful people group, and you're like, you don't need to do anything. These white Americans don't need to do anything. But you start to learn about, these kids are getting sold, for a goat or a cow, at 12 years old, 13 years old, early childhood marriages. And the fact that, FGM is still going on, and, these kids only get one meal a day made up of, water and some maize flour. And they're starving essentially. And there is no crops, there is no vegetation, in that area. And it's just animal manure that they're living in. Diseases are rampant. And these kids are not getting a fair shot at life, and they're not going to have the opportunity like so many other kids that aren't growing up in that culture have. So that really was kind of the big heartstring of like, oh my gosh, these kids, and these young girls, getting married so young. Fundamentally, I just don't think it's right. It's not going in to try to change the culture, going into, show them that there is another way, and there is some fundamental things that are inherently wrong, especially when it comes to, mutilating little children, selling them, off to marriages. So when I go in, and, when we were first kind of arriving, I don't ever just take my camera. You want to respect the people, respect the culture, and just kind of gather as much information as possible. And I told the team, like, hey guys, let's not have any cameras. Let's just like go and just like love on these people as much as we can, and just kind of immerse ourselves as much as we can. And once they're comfortable and once they can get excited about, a video camera, because it's pretty exciting, when there's a small camera crew or a camera, and, there's some incredible talent out there, musicians and singers, and, they wanted to create music videos and do all this stuff because they've, seen it or heard about it. That is when it's like, okay, now there's kind of an invitation to start telling the story, but just gathering as much information as possible, learning, asking questions. We camped out there the first night or the second night, just to kind of like, hey, we're not going to go back to a hotel, a few hours away. Let's get, bootstrap our way through this, and really, kind of sleep in the mud, quite literally. And out of that, I think we're going to be able to tell a better story.
Logistically, what's it like filming over there?
So I have filmed I've been over 50 countries, and I've filmed in some crazy places, in rains and in jungles. I've been in cartel camps, in cocaine fields everywhere. I've done stuff in South Africa, Northern Africa, Ethiopia, with a pregnant wife, which still blows my mind that she came with me, but. It's always kind of the same, especially on the continent, of Africa. There's kind of just a similar, similar filming experience where it's, you kind of have to be small, you can't really take a lot of stuff with you. Everybody kind of wants a piece. I mean, just like anywhere that's more third world, it's like you're bringing fancy equipment, like, you're going to have to pay for that. You're going to have to pay to take that in, or pay some taxes, and that's usually low-level cops, low-level government. But, charging batteries is always really difficult. Keeping stuff clean is always really difficult. I like to use my equipment, so I don't mind it getting muddy and dirty. And, it's like it's a tool. I want to use the tool. I don't want to, be too gentle with it. But, the best camera, as you're a filmmaker, is the one that you have in your hands. But
right.
Also being a gearhead, you're like, well, no, it's not. Like, if I can shoot this with a red, I'm going to shoot it with red. If I can have some, really good lens out there, like somebody can pull focus for me. Oh, if we can bring some lights in. So it's just kind of like.
Then you get a lot bigger package to bring.
Yeah. I've luckily been able to shrink it down to only, like 5 Pelican cases. But I think it's kind of the same. It's more that documentary style filmmaking where you just kind of have to just be ready for anything, and just be where the action's at, and just kind of sit and wait for the moment to come to you.
Yeah. So these guys are your crew?
No,
for that trip?
I wish.
No?
I would hire him in a second though.
But for that trip, I mean, I know Nick was holding the camera.
Nick was holding the camera. Yeah. Natural talent too.
Yeah.
He was out there. Yeah. There's actually one shot that made it in the edit that you took.
Come on.
Yeah. Come on, man.
If trees don't work out,
Maybe
you can go to cameras. Yeah.
Hey, I'm a quick learner.
Yeah.
I'll be
No,
on
for
the
real.
team.
And then,
I did most of the audio,
mhm.
shotgun mics,
Okay.
I think lapels, things like that. We had a couple
yeah.
GoPro wireless ones.
Yeah.
Any experience in audio, or you just kind
A
of
little bit. I actually did my bachelor's degree in audio production at
Okay.
a university
That's more than a little bit.
in Tennessee. Yeah. So I did that in a past life. Don't do it as much currently, but it's still there.
Once sound's in your blood, it stays
it's
there.
Yeah, exactly. So I was able to help Sam wherever he needed, or put things together, kind of help get the shot set up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
it's
and the
fun.
awesome thing about, when you're in cultures like that, and there's just a ton of kids around, and
Tons.
like teenagers, young adults, everybody wants to help. Everybody, and it's always fun to be able to be like, okay, you are now in charge of this. And you kind of give them give them some authority, give them some ownership over something, if that's holding the light, or carrying cases around, and they get to feel like they're part of making this movie, That's how we always approach it. It's like, we're making a movie and it's about you. And this is really, really exciting. And that always gives them like this ownership over it, which just makes for a better story, because then you can get into places that you could never really get in before.
Yeah. Cool.
And we're in some crazy places.
Yeah. Let's talk about the building blocks that you mentioned prior. Food and water.
Yeah.
So why is there no food and water in this area?
There's just not.
Is it just a geographic thing?
There's water, but we've dug twice. We just dug a well right now, 280 meters deep, and the water's bad, salty. And everywhere that my understanding, everywhere that's dug out there, the government has actually been digging, I don't know, I think 3 or 4 around our general area within a couple miles. And they'll only go 180 meters deep, and if it's not good, they pull out. So they're 180 meters deep. We're 280 deep, and we just got our water quality report back, and it's bad. It's not good for human consumption. There is a well, I think 2 miles from us, that we pay to get water from. But the ladies do this, not the men. Travel each day, 3 miles there. Actually, they're going to that little lake thing now. I think it's about 2 miles away. Reservoir, yes. It's about 2 miles away, and we pay for that. I think $100 a month gets water back to the village. But we're talking about 15 gallons on a mule, 3 or 4 mules go back and forth every day. They're traveling there to get it back and forth. Not one, the burden of getting there to get it. Then 2, it's not near enough water to support all their needs. If you think 15 gallons a day, I think it is. No, 15 gallons a day is what they're requesting. They're getting about 5 gallons a day per family, per hut, which is a family. It could be a mom and 3 kids or 2 kids or
I think you had it pulled up on the maps over there. He had a good.
Yeah.
He showed a Boma.
Did you show a Boma?
Google Maps was pretty sweet. Kind of you could talk to it.
Oh yeah,
I think it'd be pretty cool.
Was it over to the right? Yeah, right there. That circle. Yeah. Those circles are bomas, and inside those bomas is their huts. And you may see 4 or 5 in a boma. I've seen as many as 12 or 15 in a boma. And inside that is where they keep all their cattle at night. They've got these little, what do you call them? Thorny corrals. Bush thorny. What do you call it?
Acacia.
Acacia. Yeah, acacia wood that are about 4 foot high and 5 or 6 foot wide, and that's where they keep their cattle at night to protect them from the.
But there'll be a few generations living inside that boma. Yeah, so there'll be different huts. So you have like the grandparents, the hierarchy, the matriarchs, and then their sons, and then their daughters and families, and multiple wives and kids. So you could have 20, 30 people in one boma.
Right, and they may have 5-10 gallons for all of them per day to do everything with. We drink a gallon of water a day.
Yeah,
we should.
We should, yes.
Americans
I drink a gallon of Dr. Pepper
gallon
a
of
day.
soda a day.
Yeah, a gallon of soda. So the water is a huge need, and there's just nothing out there. You can see the land and how it looks. Now mountains are all around this. Mount Kilimanjaro is
14 miles.
Yeah, it's close. You can see it. So there's water down there. It's just not any good.
Yeah, for the nerds out there, we were looking at the report when we were driving over here, and the parts per million is the TDS is like 6,600, and then the sodium is it was 12,000.
12,000, yes.
12,000 parts per million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
six
super
times
toxic.
What it is.
The maximum.
Mm-hmm.
So
is that just the aquifer that's in the area underneath, or
I don't know that much yet.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I don't know if there's other veins or we're in a particular vein. I don't know what it is. We dug a well about 3 years ago by hand, 2 locals, 120 foot deep, by hand with just a little pickaxe.
Gnarly.
It's crazy. It took about 6
Legit.
months, and we hit water, but it's really bad as well. So we've hit that shallow one and then this deep one. And right now we've got locals here in Texas from A&M, a guy from A&M looking at that water quality report. The people in Kenya that do all of this. Say that we can use RO on it, reverse osmosis on it, and it will be good for human consumption and everything else that we're doing. Our folks here on this side are saying no, and I don't know if it's just they do things differently over there, and we do things differently here. The minds are thinking alike or not. I don't know. We all know that the water report is bad, but they're saying we can fix it. And over here so far, they're saying we can't. So
Takes a lot of energy to run RO as well.
well, and the cost of it, you said, just
Yeah.
for him was enormously much more than what we're paying over there, from what I understand.
For the
that we
system
need
setup
for the
itself.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily,
the
solar
maintenance and
though.
stuff.
I mean, you could run it off of solar, and I mean
Yeah.
that's where all the electricity is coming off of right now.
Gotcha.
But it does take a
Yeah.
lot of energy and a lot of waste.
Yeah.
And then the big problem, and Nick, you could speak into this, is all the waste from that RO system they can't really use for their livestock or their crops.
No, they can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the concentrated.
It would burn everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I mean, ocean water, worse than
Yeah.
essentially.
And that's what's got me puzzled. They think that the water's good enough for they're telling us the water's good enough for the animals and washing and
Right now.
right now. And then just put in the pump. They're begging for us to put in the pump. And we're going, okay, is that a wise thing to do, or do we use that money differently?
So the villagers want the water as is now.
They're asking for it, yeah.
Yeah.
And it just requires a pump, and we're ready to do that.
But everyone's saying the water's not palatable. Basically.
Here,
Yeah.
here.
Unsafe.
Everyone is, yes, but here they're saying
Potable.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're challenged with what to do. They're begging. If you had seen the last 3 years that I've seen of them going through their drought and their animals dying, the ladies a year and a half ago just cried out to me to please get us water. And so we've watched this well come to where it is today, which is dug. It's there. It's encased. It's ready to go. And that's bad water. So it's a very,
Well, yeah, you put all the time and resources into getting that well dug.
that there and them being excited about it. And now
yeah.
we need a week and a few more $1,000, which we have, and they have water. But we're on hold right now.
Just to either make sure the water's good or
make a wise decision on that. Yeah.
What about food in the area? So you said there's no crops, they just don't grow, or
they've tried a few things and they did okay, but they weren't really watered.
and is this a tribe that's like been in the area for I assume generations and generations?
They actually call the area that I described being in Maasai land. Maasai is the tribe. It's the dominant tribe there. These folks were in the village that we're in. I think it's been 20 years that they've been in that place, and they came from somewhere else. They're pretty mobile, but throughout they're big cities around, and in between the big cities that I've been to, you tend to see what the village looks like. No real suburbs, so to speak. It's villages that are out away from them. Yeah, they've been there for a long, long time. And they go back centuries, to be honest with you. And they've lived this way for a long, long time. Many of them, well, all of them, really. Many of them have. Yeah.
What does it look like bringing education there?
Those kids are smarter than me now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to watch those kids, the little ones from nursery, they're learning English. And I always get excited because every time we go, they'll do a performance. So they're learning English and they're learning PE and they're doing science and math and writing and all of that. But they always do a performance before the team. I don't know if they did one this time, did they? We were so focused. They sang.
They sang at the beginning.
They'll do a performance.
Dancing.
That was sweet.
Dancing. They'll come up
individually.
They line them up. They come up individually and they'll stand there all real, astute and proper and, Colossians 3:17, and then they'll quote the scriptures or whatever. Everything you do in word or deed, just in case y'all thought I didn't know it. Quote their scripture, and then they'll walk out, and the next one will come up and quote their scripture, and they have a good time with that. So they're learning a lot, and that's one big thing. English is a big, big thing. If they can learn English, that's all they ever ask for is for the learning English. To them, they think if they learn English, they're going to be able to have much more opportunity if they do that. So they're learning English, the little kids.
So how's the school being run now? You said it was a small school?
2 classroom, three classes, nursery, preschool, first grade. We have 2 teachers that are there from Kenya, but we're going to lose them now that we're becoming registered. But 2 teachers. It's a 10 building, probably twice the size of this.
There's
There
a
you go.
picture of
This
it right
room. Yeah,
There you
there's
go.
the school.
There's one on the other side of that wall too.
Yeah.
They just partition it, and so there'll be
Yeah.
another classroom on that side.
Yeah, and then they take that middle wall, fold it back, and it's the church on Sunday or whenever they have church gatherings. But that's the 2 classrooms, and then there's another little classroom underneath an awning, or kind of 3 walls, I guess. That is the nursery. But 2 teachers do all of that. That just brings us to the needs. We need more teachers now, even for what we have. We need another teacher, but we don't have the $200 to do that a month. Food, you can see the food program, so they get fed there. A pretty good meal, the kids do. Only the kids there. So you get the kids that are not in school. They're either going to a government school, which is not good. I think it's 1:80 ratio.
1 teacher to 80 students.
Yeah. And my understanding is there's, especially to the girls, abuse going on from the older kids, the older boys, sexually, physically, emotionally. So we don't want them in the government school. My understanding is if we have a 12-year school built tomorrow, it's full right there in our village. So we really want to get our kids in our school and any other surrounding kids. They will come. They're already coming to our little school, unofficial school. There's already, I think, 3 families that have moved in from Kenya, which is just across the border, an hour or so. But they're coming to our school.
How many students do you have right now?
Close to 60. I think it's 58. Yeah. But, the other big thing, because we don't have other teachers, is the older ones, when they basically graduate our school, they either go to the government school or just repeat the same curriculum. First grade again, first grade again, first grade again. So that's a priority for us right now too. But water and food is the main priority. We're not going to do anything else as far as the school until we get water and food, mainly because of the current situation we're in. If we don't hit water, the cool thing is that's happened. This is totally a God thing. One of our partners over there, or one of our mentors over there, who does basically the same thing we're doing, has a piece of land that he donated to us on the Kenyan side of the border. We want to build our 12-year school on the Kenyan side of the border. Just much easier than dealing with Tanzania, even if we are registered with them. But he donated that 5 acres for us which is about 7 miles from the village to the east. But it already has a water well on it, and we get used to that. We get access to that. Excuse me.
Isn't the big problem though, like them getting to the school once it's built, like especially because it's,
The
They're
one
gonna-
that
How
one
far
at
does it-
Dominic's
Kenyan
place.
side.
How far
an
did you
hour
say?
away.
I think it's 7 miles. What
7
I've been
miles.
told, it takes us about 30, 45 minutes to drive there. But what they do over there, and even Boniface and Margaret, their kids, which live in Namanga, once they get out of 7th grade, my understanding in Namanga, there is no high school. It only goes to 7th grade, and then you go to boarding school somewhere else, hours away. So and it's common there to go off to boarding school. So we would basically have a boarding school for our kids to come to at the other location I was telling you about on the Kenyan side of the border. They stay there the semester and then they go back home. So that's a normal thing for them to do.
So that requires other things too. It's not just a 12-year school. It requires dorms and kitchens and staff, to run all of that, not just the teachers. And so
Guards, you have to have guards.
But that's all government run.
We have to follow the government guidelines. It's
Is this
not
the one in
government
Kenya
run.
or the one in Tanzania?
No, okay, let me back up. So we have our little school in Sutton,
Yep.
the village. Only goes to about first grade. We want to build a 12-year school.
I see. So you're talking
Yeah.
about starting a 12-year school, but
In
if it's
Kenya.
a boarding school, then yeah, you'd need
Yeah.
housing, you'd need
Right.
a lot more infrastructure.
Yeah, it'd be like a college campus.
Yeah.
Security. We had to build walls around the school for safety. For a lot of even the animals, the wildlife.
Mhm.
We have to have cafeteria, chef, staff in all the areas
Yeah.
to do that.
I think you were going to go over there, right, Nick? Chef for the school. When you were talking about that?
And I can cook up
You
some
can
Rustle
grub.
something up?
Yeah.
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 I taught Margaret some
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those pancakes.
Mhm.
Good pancakes.
There was
Yeah,
one
the
story I
chapati.
remember. I don't think you guys remember this. I think Margaret was telling us something powerful about the education. If you can get kids in uniforms,
Mm.
there's like, on top of learning English, the way they were describing it to us, maybe you guys can fill in too, was it created this like protection, like they were almost set apart from falling into these other, like these cultural norms that we've kind of mentioned already. And there was actually a story of two of the girls being saved because they kind of started the school when it started, when you did it, Rodney, and then they moved out, but they were protected and were like, they weren't subject to an early marriage. And I just thought that was super powerful. Like a school uniform alone was powerful enough to
Kind of keeps them off limits.
keeps them off limits.
How they
Like,
described
hey,
it.
these girls
Interesting.
have a brighter future. And I thought that was just such a powerful like story they shared with us. I was like, wow, like just doing that, like getting clean uniforms
Yeah.
and having them wear them to school. I mean, something we wouldn't even, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought about it being that powerful. But just to that education aspect that you were kind of tapping into.
Those are two of the girls that we followed in the Vision film as well. Primarily, just kind of their story, their interactions with the school. And it was powerful. There was a different kind of presence over them too. You could tell like they were okay.
Yeah,
They were okay.
yeah. Two sisters, right? Were they sisters, cousins, or just friends?
I don't know. Yeah,
I think they're
I don't know
sisters.
if they're related. How they're related. But yeah, that one of the original stories going back 5 years ago. A friend of mine wanted to donate. I think it was $200. He said, "Here it is. Just ask them how they want to use it. Ask Boniface and Margaret how they want to use it." And this is in the very, very beginning, before we had anything. The first thing we actually built was a latrine. That's what they asked for. But even before then, when we were kind of starting the school, I said, "Hey, Boniface, I got somebody gave $200. How do you want? They want you to use it. However you think." He said, "We need uniforms," which led to the story that you told. Because of that reason, they wanted uniforms. Yeah, that was that and a latrine were the two priority. Not food, not water.
Oh, you gotta
crazy.
Gotta have a place to go.
They do. Well, what happened is when it would rain, it would wash up in the low areas, and they would have water. Maybe 6 inches deep. But the grounds are so infested with manure, cow manure, and all that. But even human feces. Everything is the ground covers the whole ground, especially inside the boma. So the water that was on the ground was dirty. So they thought if they had a latrine, they could isolate some of that and clean up.
Gotcha. So it's
a
a
little
livestock,
bit.
primarily cattle.
Cattle and goats.
And they eat dairy. Like what do they?
They drink the milk, make porridge from the milk, make the what's the green stuff? Gula. I can never say it.
The green stuff.
No, the corn meal,
The maize
stuff that
like
they
porridge?
mash together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
that.
Oh,
but
sakuma.
I can't remember. I don't like it. Whatever it is, it's real gooey.
It's porridge, essentially.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
porridge,
Goldilocks.
and that's it. And
Boiled.
occasionally they'll get something at the market if they have something to trade, but they don't eat food. The cattle they don't even eat. They eat the goats. My understanding is that a boma or a family may have a goat a week to eat on. So
We witnessed that.
yeah, we did witness that.
Witnessed that.
Did you film it?
No, I killed the goat.
He killed
Oh.
the goat. Yeah,
Well, we
I
filmed
filmed it.
He filmed
Yeah.
it.
Gotcha.
yeah, we got him.
It was captured.
Yeah,
It was, yes.
yeah. But yeah, no, they don't. There's no crops on the land. Did y'all see any? I've never seen crops, and I've asked about
No,
it.
nothing
We
was
walked,
growing.
we walked through a cornfield on
Did you?
the mean guys land with the water.
Oh, yes, we did.
Yeah.
That's a couple miles
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
That's
he had the
government. That was
monopoly.
government water, government land.
The
They're-
mean guy.
You're not getting on that without a price anyway. So yeah, there's nothing there. There literally is nothing there. Of all the places I've been in the world, which isn't near as many as he's been to, it's not remote like places I've been, but there's nothing there. You know, the mountain jungles of Honduras, they have food. They have coffee and maize and chickens and cattle, and they eat them. They eat them. They lush grounds. This is about as dry as this table in Norok, and nothing there.
What about like occupations or work? Is there anything?
No, I don't know what they are. If they are,
No.
There are some of the men going off into town and working. I don't know. I've never met them. If they
I mean,
have,
they trade. They make a lot of jewelry and their clothing, and they'll
Mhm.
trade that.
That's true.
And sell that and
Yeah.
stuff.
They have a little farmer's market that we drove by the bones of it each day, but on the day of the market, which it was raining, so everybody was kind of covered up and wasn't much going on. But they do have a little market that they all walk and travel to bring their stuff and trade and barter, which was kind of interesting and cool to see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
So what's
You can make chai too, I think. Was
Chai.
one of
We
them.
do try.
Yeah. That was pretty
Chai.
cool.
hot milk.
tea? Or,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. They made
You
some
could say
over-
that.
They made
Chai
some
tea
for
is
us, which
is
was
redundant.
great.
Yeah.
Chai tea, right?
Yeah.
we'll take peanut butter and bread out there, and they really like it. They really like that peanut butter sandwich.
Some white bread.
Oh yeah,
Good old American
Oh
white
yeah,
bread.
good old white bread and some jelly
And some
or honey.
diabetes.
Yeah,
Texas.
That's
Some
right.
diabetes.
Yeah.
Amos, have you eaten a goat before?
Yes.
Yeah.
We had goats when I was kids.
Oh, really?
When I was a kid.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you recall your goats being
Oh, they're the worst.
tasty? So
Oh no, not tasty, but they're also the worst. Like if it won't
Yeah.
hold water, it won't hold a goat.
yeah,
So, yeah, they were a pain. But yeah, you have to eat them before 6 months old in order for them to actually taste good.
Oh, is that it?
Oh.
Oh,
Otherwise,
man.
they get goaty. And if they run with the bucks, they'll be goaty as well.
I feel like goats in general are just goaty. I've eaten them a few times. It's always pretty
Yeah.
gnarly.
Yeah.
Very goaty. I never thought that would be a profile.
these goats tasted delicious to me though.
Did they?
Too tough. I mean,
No,
I
you
like
didn't
that
get the right
table.
piece. I don't know.
Man,
I wasn't eating the hoof like the men,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was good to me, and I've never had good goat. That's why.
So was there any like culture shock with that when it came to like how their lifestyles and how they lived over there compared to what you're used to?
Me, no, not really.
He lives like that now. I think.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
yeah, the
Pretty
guy
much.
with the
But he has a-
Maasai man was, Sam slaughtered the goat, and then the guy was skinning the goat
Yeah.
and bringing me in and trying to show me how to skin the goat. And so I helped him
Right.
skin the goat a little bit.
Like
and
we
then-
got whitetail in Texas.
yeah, and then I showed him a picture of a whitetail, and they were baffled at antlers. They were like zoomed in on the head. What is that?
Mm.
But I was
Yeah.
like, we have goats too.
It's like, yeah, I mean, that transcends all cultures. It's just a big rack.
Hmm Yeah,
Have you ever slaughtered anything before? Was that
Yeah, I mean, growing up, we'd be hunting. I grew up in
Okay.
northern Arizona in the mountains, so like elk hunting and
Yeah,
and
so
bow
it's not
hunting and
foreign
stuff.
to you.
But yeah, not super foreign. But
I would say the cultural aspect though of the way that they slaughtered the goat. It was extremely peaceful, surprisingly. Like the animal did not
it's
react.
so sad.
I mean, I don't know. It was wild. And then the way that they utilize the animal, I mean, literally nothing
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
to waste. Literally.
Nothing.
The blood, like they catch all of it
Yeah, drink it
and drink it right there.
Mm.
All
Two of the Maasai
coagulated
men.
and everything.
Yeah, it coagulates and they get it on a stick and it's
Yeah.
like, here's a popsicle,
Yeah. I don't know how graphic you want to be on the show, but
We've been graphic before.
it's pretty gnarly. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, just slit its neck, open it up, drain the blood, and that goat's just like breathing out of this gaping hole,
Mm.
and then they're just drinking the blood right there.
Right there.
Yeah. They're like, "Hey, do you want some?" I was like, "That will kill me. I'm not used to that."
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll show it there.
But
But yeah, on the other side of the food spectrum, growing things, it's so, they're so close because the land is so fertile, so fertile. They have 30 feet of topsoil. Where they dug the well, they had this mountain of topsoil that, they were just pumping out of the ground as they were drilling down. And they had dug a pit next to it. That would be the concrete base, I guess, for the water tower, essentially.
Yeah.
That would go in next to the well. And, that's a 6-foot deep hole, and it's all topsoil. And it's like, how deep does that go? Oh, I mean, that's 30 feet that it goes down.
Yeah.
And so just having access to water that they could water crops with, and then having a basic education of, they eat a watermelon and they don't realize that the little black seed in there is a seed that can produce another watermelon. Just having basic knowledge.
But you need water for that watermelon.
Right.
So it's just so arid.
It's just
how much
so
rainfall
arid.
a year do they get?
So I'll tell you a story of what I know. 3 years, no rain except for 2 days. And that was it. I don't know how much rainfall that was.
While we were there.
Yeah. Huh?
While we
It
were
did
there.
rain while we were there. Yes.
Yeah, talk about some flash floods.
During that drought period, before we began the process of the water well, it was 3 years. There's a great story there too. But I looked it up once. I can't remember. I want to say it's in the 20s, maybe, which is a little bit of rain. But they go through these severe droughts that last for a long time. 3 years. The story I'll tell you is about 2 years into that drought with one rain at that time, everything was dead. All the vegetation that is there was dead. And they had taken all the animals away, all the cattle away. A lot of the goats were still there because they can survive on this table. But they had all gone, and the men had been gone for 2 years now at this point to go to other greener pastures, wherever they may be. And we were there. I'd been watching this take place on my trips over the last couple of years, of the men being gone, of the animals becoming very bony, and so on, and then hearing the stories, the desperation from the people coming through Boniface on a phone call or FaceTime or being there. But my last trip there, it's a lot to say, but basically I finally brought the ladies together and the men. They meet separately. And that's where the agony and the desperation that really came out on that trip from the ladies. I mean, they were in tears, begging for water. Somehow get them some water, because everything was dying. And the buddy that was with me, we spent the remaining 5 days planning how to figure out how to get water there, whether it was there in the village or at the hotel that night or on the plane coming home. And long story short, I finally realized I'm trying to fix this thing and I can't. And God just saying, I've been with you for 5 years out here and y'all been trusting me and this and that and the other. Why'd you walk away? Come back to me. I really felt that experience driving into my neighborhood, literal experience, where he just kind of slapped me and said, stop trying to do this and let me do it. Anyway, it got my attention. I called all of everybody that I knew that was on our team, been on a trip or financially supporting it and so on. 2 years, no rain, except for one day. And said, okay, look, here's my story. I just shared it with you. We just need to pray. Start praying. Pray for the water well that we dug a few years ago, 120 foot deep, that it would get good water and fill up. Pray for rain. Pray that we get the money to build a well, whatever it may be. Pray. And we got really, really intentional on our prayers, and the people in the village did too, with intentional purpose, with scriptures that we were reading and different things that at that time. A week later, it flooded the village that week. Things began to green back up again. We certainly saw that as a sign that God was saying, okay, you're letting me back in. I'm here. I haven't gone anywhere. But we have a journey to be on. I'm not just going to give you water. I've learned so much about the journey to this day, as opposed to just pray for water and, oh, good, there's some water. Or pray for food. Good, there's some food.
The vending machine in the sky.
Yeah. Okay, you got it. You got to put in 25 cents. No, it's the journey, and I hope that's what we're all learning as we get to that point that we do have water. Right now, we're at a huge challenge, maybe my biggest, because we don't have good water. That really has hurt. That really has lost me a little bit, I was just sharing with them on the way up here that I became to a point that I was just kind of almost giving up, It's still feeling that way a little bit, but causes you to get lazy about your purpose and causes you to get lazy about what you feel like God's calling you to do. And then I start questioning, am I the reason why we didn't get water and so on and so on. But at any rate, that was a great story when he showed us water, and other stories that go along with that. But it's a journey. I think we're on a journey. I think God is with us. I think he's taking us down this road. I think he's certain he's going to accomplish his plan. Water or no water, food or no food, if they know Jesus Christ, that's why we're there. That's the ultimate reason why we're there. And we can't forget that. We can get too focused on water. And it takes away our main reason to be there.
Well, that was
the foundation.
That was your first block.
Yeah, that was our first block.
So how do you go about that? I mean, what is the religion in the area?
When I looked it up and when they told me it was Maasai, the people, and then I can't remember the other one. There's two of them. But basically witchcraft, gods could be, they would tell me they would come out and find something in the universe and worship it however they worshiped it, thought it was, they would pray to it thinking that maybe that would give them whatever they looked for. Looking for water. Again, this went on for a long time. I got a story from a Boniface that a group of the men there in the village came together and was like, hey, we got to get water. Let's go get the witch doctor to pray or to do whatever he does. Fortunately, one of the guys said, we serve a different God now. We're going to pray to him. Fortunately, that took place. But yeah, witch doctors, witchcraft, whatever they want to pick to worship is what I understand was taking place. It still does today in a lot of ways through some of them.
Did you get pushback from them?
No, not at all. Well, okay. There are some men in the village that won't go to church and they don't want you in their boma or in their hut. Some of that. They want some. There's a story of a man who for the first several years would not allow his wife to come to church or his kids. Well, now they're all coming to church. The man just recently, probably 6 months ago, finally started coming. That's the pushback we get. Nothing threatening or fighting or anything like that.
What about from the witch doctors? I mean, you're putting them out of a job.
I haven't experienced anything. No, not at all.
Got no pains in your side?
No.
Voodoo dolls?
No, they haven't done anything to me anyways.
We do have a pretty crazy story about being in a boma that they weren't too stoked about because we were doing some filming. Naomi, yeah. But essentially, she invited us. She was one of the, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the first women to go to church, right?
She's a leader there now.
So one of the leaders in the church, and she invited us into the bunk because we really needed some shots to be able to. I mean, a lot of people have no idea what these look like inside, and it's amazing because the women build them themselves, the men don't help at all. So there's incredible structures that they're forming from mud, manure, sticks,
It's quite
logs.
it's
It
really
was
impressive.
really
It really
impressive
is.
architecture.
What do the men do?
They eat their goats, hang around,
Sit under the trees.
sit under the
That's
trees.
And they'll herd.
Yeah, they'll herd.
Yeah,
Are you finding a change in that when you bring in Christianity?
a little bit. My understanding, the men govern everything. They just don't do anything.
We know how we feel about
They
people
do it
who
with the
govern in
whip.
America.
Yeah. So they're certainly in charge, but they don't lift a finger, but they control it all. But yes, Christianity, now that we've been there 5 years, for probably 3 years, there was no men coming. They'd sit out under the tree, but they weren't at the church, even though it was just right there. They could hear everything as close as they were, but they never got involved, never came to anything. And finally, 3 years ago probably, 7 men started coming to a Bible study. And now last I heard was 15 men to a Bible study. And some of them, a couple of those guys were leaders in the school, leaders in different areas that they've started with the ministry there, where some of the men are getting plugged in. So yeah, it's been hard as it is in any country I've ever been in. The men, they're same way in America. To get a man plugged into a church and be a godly leader is hard too, but especially over there.
Yeah. It's back to your story about filming in the Boma.
Yeah, so we knew that we needed a shot, and that's that's my thing usually when I'm filming a story is like, I don't care how we get, we just need to we just need to get the shot,
Anything
right?
for the shot.
And so she invited us in, and
For chai.
a lot of the men were for chai. She was inviting us in for chai. But I also had had a 600 aperture 600 that I wanted to bring in, and a battery pack and some cameras and a bunch of little nan lights, and like really light this up because it's pitch black in there. You can't see anything. So she had her little open fire making us chai, and was able to capture some like fine art photography. Brought a flash in as well, and she was totally cool with it. I mean, she invited us in and was getting some incredible footage. And then we hear somebody yelling outside, like, "You guys almost done? Like, we gotta go. We gotta go." I'm like, "What?" And apparently a bunch of the men found out that we were in there and were not stoked about it. And yeah, so somebody ran out, and it was kind of like this high pressure moment where it's like, she's making us try, she's being super chill. But at the same time, we're like, well, we don't know. Like, we probably feel safe-ish, but we don't know what your husband might do to you, for allowing us to be in there. So we're trying to wrap up all this stuff as quick as possible and just be like, hey, we're just in here. We're not filming anything. But yeah, I mean, when you see like 12 men with their machetes, walking down the hill to come check out what's going on. It was a little, we were a little nervous. We're like, oh, yeah, let's wrap this up. Yeah, luckily, they were wearing some pretty cool jewelry, and we're like, really like that jewelry. Is it for sale? And kind of started this whole like, oh yeah, it is for sale. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll take your money. So
definitely bought something.
Yeah, we definitely bought something. Definitely a high pressure moment though.
Yeah, did you learn those tactics when you were watching the cartel and filming around there?
Right. But it was good. It was crazy though. I was like, oh man, I don't know. I don't know this culture enough yet. I haven't been around them yet. I don't know what they'll do.
Yeah, my understanding is she would have received some punishment if we'd have been found inside the hut. So, yeah, we got out there in time.
Yeah,
I think, from what I understand.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of Source Water Company?
No.
They build hydro panels. They're out of, I want to say Scottsdale, Arizona. Actually, a client that I want to eventually pursue and partner with on some projects. But I've always been into just regenerative energy, solar, just different kind of hydro panel technology. And their stuff though, I feel like might be a solution if that water is not good in the ground.
So what is a hydro panel?
So the hydro panel essentially uses solar panels and condenses water out of the thin air. It's pulled up there on the screen, but it's pretty cool because it can pull water, with as little of the 20% humidity, and even less in some areas. You just won't produce as much. But each one of those panels can produce a few liters a day. So if you have a farm of those, just like you would solar panels, you could receive water that's just in the air, in the atmosphere, naturally, and provide perfect drinking water.
Yeah.
Correct pH levels, just right out of thin air.
It'll be rainwater, essentially.
Essentially, yeah.
So like Dune.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's actually a really good point.
No sandworms.
But it would be interesting.
No sandworms.
I don't know. It'd be interesting if the digging, if going deeper doesn't produce any better water, to, engage with them and see if there's a partnership there, for these hydro panel technologies to get implemented. Because I know that they're already implementing them in parts of Africa. But I don't know, that just popped to mind. I was like, that might be a solution.
Do you have to have rain and vegetation to accomplish that?
No.
It just needs to be a certain amount of water in the air.
Yeah.
Which Arizona is pretty arid.
Yeah.
And that's where they're based out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that they had never, like, no introduction to Christianity before.
That's my understanding. I think a lot of times I hear that, and I think there's more exposure than I realize. They certainly have never heard the gospel. Like I say, the men especially, they can get to town by foot, even if they wanted to. It may take a day or two.
How far is town?
We drive it in an hour to hour and a half.
On
foot.
But you said,
how many
20
miles maybe?
20 miles, okay.
I don't really know.
Where are they on this map? So you're talking about Namanga,
so
Rodney?
Mount Kilimanjaro, so we're about due south, I think.
By Longito?
Longito, probably.
There you go.
Yeah.
And how big is that town?
Namanga.
The one you're talking about that the men would go to.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know the thousands, but it's got everything
it's
there.
bustling.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's bustling. It's happening. It's very, very poor. It's not Nacogdoches or Dallas by any means, but a lot of the street vendors are people selling their vegetables and things like that. There's stores there. There's a grocery store there, kind of like a high-end 7-Eleven maybe, but
Super lay.
yeah, it's got all the things you need for the most part. We're probably Mount Longito Forest Reserve. We're probably in between the two there, I would guess.
Yeah, I think it's between Longito Mountain and Mount Kilimanjaro because you can see both from the village.
Yeah.
The border is literally, a mile away from us? Can you remember the white monuments that were down through there?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we cross those, and there's no road really that's going out there once you get off the main road.
Mm.
So how do they respond to Christianity then when you first brought it? Like,
I mean, from what I could tell,
the women were very.
The women
receptive.
are much more receptive. The church is women.
Okay. Who's the pastor?
50 women, and then the 15 guys I was telling you about. Pastor Boniface and Margaret. They're the lead pastors, however you say that. And then a guy named Samuel who lives in the village. He's a younger man. He's the son of the past chief of the village that just got changed over, I believe. But he's been to Bible school actually. The mentor you may have heard me mention before that donated the 5 acres over on the Kenyan side for our school. He's been in the ministry for 25 years, has his own thing, but they have a Bible school in another part, but it will happen here as well. He went to that Bible school and came back to the village, and so he's on staff now.
When he'll translate, right? It's
he
Swahili,
can speak English,
but it's also Maasai's the language, and apparently they're pretty significant differences, even though it obviously sounds the same to us. So he'll translate for Boniface and Margaret a little bit. Yeah.
So yeah.
And how long has he been in the area doing
Samuel? He's been
Boniface.
On Boniface 7 years. So he was at the children's home I was telling you about in Maimahu. And 7 years ago, they were taking the trips back and forth, if you recall. 7 years ago, we said, "Hey, can you make it on $450 a month?" He said, "Yep. We're taking off right now." That's all we were bringing in at that time was $450 a month to basically pay. $450 a month basically to pay for their 3-week trip that they used to take. So I said, "Hey, if you can live on $450 a month, go ahead and go down, and we'll just stay there full time." So they loaded up and went on $450 a month, plus paying for their kids' school. But he's been down there for 7 years, full time 5 years. Yeah.
So you're getting there as far as growing spiritually in the group. You're getting. Seems like you're making some good headway.
Yeah, especially with the ladies, and the men are coming along. Yeah, they're very hospitable, and people, and enjoy us being there.
What about the children?
The children love it. The children love it. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah,
they're very. At least when we're there, very, very happy. Love being around. Love playing soccer or whatever.
So are the young boys in church then?
Yeah. All the young boys, everybody that's in school is in the church. All the little ones. There are some older ones that may be away.
So when they grow up, though, then they will have been to church, and you'll affect them.
Yeah.
Over time. Yeah.
This is going to be a generational change, more than that, but it's going to take a while because, with the cult and with the traditions that they have, that like one of you said, we're not really trying to go in and say, "Hey, stop doing that." But we are trying to say that, but we have to get them there. We have to teach them the Bible, for one, to realize that's a young lady, she's valuable. She's not a toy. She's not a baby. She's not just there to produce babies, which is what they do. They may have 10 babies apiece and 6 wives per man, 2 to 3 wives normally, but trying to help them understand that. And that's hard when they're already even teenagers at that point. So taking these younger kids now and start instilling in them biblical values, more so, and training, it's going to take a while.
Hmm.
It's going to be hard to change the older ones.
Mm-hmm.
But we really don't have any acts. We don't really have anything for the middle-aged kids, even, middle school, say, type. We don't have anything for them yet.
Yeah.
They're around, but they don't come to the school. We don't have room for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing to see there. Samuel, the pastor, he's 21 years old, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he's married recently. His first wife, which I believe the first one is arranged, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking, and he has no desire to marry other women, and he loves his wife, and he only wants her. So it's cool to see that shift, because 5-6 years ago he would have been a teenager.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of somewhat been raised with a new understanding and belief. And so it's just cool to see that,
Mm-hmm.
starting to take effect. And so you take all 60 of those kids in 10 years, and they're teenagers and young adults that are taking these new beliefs.
Yeah.
It doesn't
No, it
take terribly long to
it
change.
takes time to change a culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do it overnight.
Yeah.
It's been going on for, I don't know, centuries. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure, at least. If I was told one time that the Maasai people are the only tribe, I guess, that's still kind of together, that goes all the way back to biblical times.
Hmm.
I guess we all do in some way, but really more organic, I guess, to that. But yeah, it's their traditions are instilled just like ours are, I guess, in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
It's gonna be hard to change.
Yeah.
I'm sure with those young ones.
So how are you telling the story in the video? Want to talk about that a little bit, or just wait till it comes out?
Yeah, I was hoping we were gonna be able to finish it before then. But our director that I'm kind of bringing into the Lightbox missions, giving her a big opportunity to be able to take this, and really run with it. But it will be out really soon. I don't know when this is gonna be posted, but you can drop some links.
This will probably be a week or two
Okay.
before this will get
Yeah,
posted.
yeah. Definitely can. You can definitely check out a link of kind of a teaser video. Then I'll make sure that you guys have to see. But yeah, I mean, the question of like how, as in, what is the framework behind the video? Yeah, just like what, how we're telling it is hard, because there's so many different aspects, like Rodney's talking about, like, there's water, and there's health, and there's nutrition, and there's schooling, and there's faith, and there's cultural norms that are not okay. So it's like, what do you really touch on? But ultimately the goal is to raise money, like that. Every organization, nonprofit, church, mission, they all usually need one thing, and that's revenue. Revenue fixes everything. So if this can raise money, which that is the goal, like telling a story is great, but just telling a story is not what these people need, and not what Mission Kilimanjaro needs. They need to raise some funds. So, we're presenting a problem, bringing people kind of on an emotional roller coaster, breaking down very lightly kind of the hierarchy of the issues, and then trying to follow a story, because remember, we're doing this within like 3 to 5 minutes, so we have to try to shorten it as much as we can and condense everything. But primarily when we were out there, we found that like education was kind of the biggest emphasis. Because with education, I mean, so many things are fixed, and I mean, that can solve a lot of the food issues, that can solve a lot of the literacy issues, when it comes to just being able to read other languages and understand, gardening and farming and the Bible, and that child marriage is wrong, and all this stuff. So that was kind of the big emphasis. So kind of showing everything, trying to make it interesting and appealing for people, trying to make it as short form as possible while still sticking true to the story, to be able to be distributed on, their social, but also tour around, hopefully some churches, on their Give Butter or GoFundMe, or whatever we're going to do. I don't know if we have planned that out yet, but we need to raise money for more water. And we need to raise money for a school. So that's what the story's about, is like,
Gotcha.
This is what's going on. This is where these people are at. This is what we're doing in country. And we need help. And this is a great opportunity to give and actually see something tangible that's still like grassroots. Even though, you've been out there for so long, it still is very grassroots, because there hasn't been the funding. It's just been the heart and the love for the people and the love for Jesus that has compelled, Boniface and Margaret and these guys and Rodney especially to just keep going back. And that's awesome. But it's time to really make some change, because these kids are growing up and they need more education, because, without that, with just like Jake was saying, without the school uniforms, they're in danger, and that's like that safety net. That education is that safety net.
Yeah.
School uniforms is that safety net.
So do you have any specific goals you're trying to hit? Like dollar amounts, or can you speak to?
Learning that a little bit as we go. But yeah, I think, like I said, if we could build a 12-year school today, if somebody came up and said how much it costs to do that, I think it's going to be somewhere between $1 and $2 million. Just based on some numbers, such as when I asked them how much it cost to build your little 2-bedroom home, he said $30,000. I said, okay, how's that compared to a classroom? Probably about the same. Time you have bathrooms and some showers if they need. So I go, okay, how many buildings do we need? Yeah, we come up with this number. We have not got bids on what it would really take to build it. I think somewhere between probably $1.5 million would build a 12-year school. Dorms, cafeteria. You got staff. That's not counting operations.
You're saying what would it cost to run?
It's just it's a whole different thing. I'm guessing based on some things that I've learned from other places, $100,000 a month operates, something like that.
And how many students would that?
So they'll carry, 12 grades. If you have one class in every grade, they'll put about 35 to 40 in a classroom, which is a lot still. I'm trying to hope we can do less than that. But there's so many kids, from my understanding, out there. Talking to Dominic, he's our little mentor guy. Not a little mentor guy, but yeah, he's our rock, to be honest with you.
Guru.
He's been there and done that. My understanding, there's a lot of kids out there, and we'll replicate this in other areas one day.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in my lifetime, but we will. So I would guesstimate around 360 for all 12 grades.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, you got living quarters for the staff that have to be built, offices, and it has to be done as specifications from the government, which also includes sanitation. We have to make sure, even though it's still a latrine, that we build a nice bathroom with a nice toilet and running water, and it goes out into the latrine. So if we had $1.5 million tomorrow, I think we can go start building that 12-year school, get it built, and it would be full. Mm-hmm. So that's my goal right there, at least 1.5.
Yeah.
And that's just a rough number, really.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We do have a master plan that we paid to have designed, which has all the buildings on it. Now we need, I think it's $1,200 to get a bid on that. I don't have $1,200, Mm-hmm. And we're starting to rely, every time we need $1,200, I think a lot of people can say, hey, I can give $1,200. But it's the same handful of people that we're working with right now that continue to fork out it. Whatever they're giving monthly, whatever they're giving toward a water well, whatever they're giving toward a new vehicle purchase or tires, because none of that's in our budget. It's the same people. So we need more partners to become available, not only for operational costs monthly, but when those things come up to build a school or to build a water well or to buy tires or get all that in the budget at least. That's what we're needing desperately.
So where do people go to help?
Go to his website.
Yeah, missionkilimanjaro.org. And I think there's just a give section on there. There's a tab. We need to make some updates to it, but yeah, you can start giving right there. There's a portal for you to give. Like Rodney said, like many hands make light work. So, we cherish, I know Rodney cherishes the large donations, but those small donations that you can make monthly and make partnerships with people is I think where he wants to take it.
Yeah,
and get more people involved like that.
100,000 people give you $10. You got to make
Yeah,
it great.
yeah, I mean,
absolutely,
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And you got 100,000 partners, praying partners. You know, on top of that, or 10,000, whatever the number you use.
100,000. Yeah.
100,000. So when you see that website, you're going to see Mission, or on the giving page, you're going to see Mission Kilimanjaro, or Mission Masai on the top up there. Mission Masai is our 501c3 that we're piggybacking on. Mission Masai is out of McKinney, where I'm at or grew up at. We know those people. And that's another God thing. When I'd gone to Sutton Arok and came back, and we realized, okay, we're going to start working here. And I just started Googling, how do I build a water well in Sutton Arok or Tanzania or whatever. These people came up on the Google search. I'm like, oh, they're in McKinney. Wow, who are these people? So I looked them up, and it turns out to be people I know distantly. And they are in the general area that we are on the Kenyan side of the border, and they've done this already. So they are very much mentors of ours as well. But they have allowed us to come on board there and using their 501c3. So all the donations go there, and they keep us an account. We manage our account. They're just keeping our money. So when you see that Mission Masai, that's what that is. And they are partners with us in a lot of ways because they've got a lot of experience and wisdom and advice that they give us.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Any closing statements, thoughts from anyone?
Sam recorded a Kenyan music video.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he did.
We did shoot a music video.
Oh, can we link to that?
It's not finished yet.
TBD, right?
TBD.
It was
Well,
really
they have some
cool,
pretty
though.
incredible machetes, and we all
When they were coming after you for that.
yeah, and we all were eyeballing these. We're like, man, these are sweet.
How do we get one?
How do we get one of these?
It was on the plane back. That's the problem.
We got them back.
We
We got
did
it
you?
back.
Oh yeah, multiple.
Check them.
Why didn't we bring them?
Yeah, that would have been great.
Just had them on the
Yeah.
table.
That would have been
Like,
great.
what's going on?
Or a goat.
Brought a goat. Yeah.
Wow. Slaughtered it right here.
Yeah.
My last,
I don't think that would be YouTube friendly.
yeah, probably not. My last comment would be, if that's what we're asking, is, I want to speak to people, and these guys can speak to people, but if somebody hears this out there and wants to go have lunch with me, I don't care. I'll meet with one person. I'll travel to where you are.
Just one.
Huh?
Just one.
Just one. I'll meet with one. I don't care. But if your church or your work group or your Bible study group or your friends in the neighborhood, whatever, want to have a park party, whatever it is, and I can come share this, or they can go share it. This is not my thing. This is God's thing, and they can share it just as well. Contact us on that website.
Yeah,
right
it's
there.
contact
My
form.
email's on that website, I
Yeah.
think. Man, we'd love for some partners to be involved.
Yeah.
For sure. I know there's a lot of things to give to, and I hope everybody is doing something. But if this touches your heart in that way, we'd love for you to come on board.
All right.
Go over there. Go over there
Amos,
on the
thank
trip.
you, man.
Yeah. Thank you
It was
guys
awesome
for coming
being
in.
on.
Yeah,
It was a
man.
blast.
Yeah.
Got to test out the room with 5 people.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
It's
it went
comfortable.
well.
Yeah, it
It's
worked
comfortable.
really well.
Yeah.
So,
Except for that thing I dropped earlier.
That's all right.
That was such a.
Well,
that'll
Wow.
clean out. But
Yeah.
Ben has said like 2 words the whole time.
Ben,
So-
how's it going?
It's going all right. What does a filmmaker do in Africa when they break apart?
Bro, crazy story. Tell it, Sam.
What?
Picky
Break apart?
Prime.
break apart? Like
Oh
they,
my
did they
gosh.
break
You
down?
didn't break
or-
the part. You just didn't bring the part.
Remember
I'm
they,
so confused.
remember
at
they
what's
ordered that
I'm
part
lost.
for you, and it got brought on the
Oh,
motorcycle.
Next
I
day.
think
yeah.
it was
On the
an
motorcycle.
adapter. I heard it was
yeah.
an adapter.
Peaky Prime. Yeah.
Oh.
All right, tell
That
it.
was awesome. No, I forgot my one adapter that I needed for the lens for the camera.
How could you?
So we literally didn't have a camera to use. I mean, you couldn't. And
You could have put a cardboard tube and hold the lens just in the right spot. You focus by
Yeah.
moving it back.
I think
and
we had
forth.
gaff tape at first.
we gaff taped it at first and just strapped it to there. And I was like, it's a little work. And yeah, somebody made a call. He's like, oh, I got you. And I was like, okay, sweet. He called his buddy because he was also a photographer. This kid that I don't even know.
Just
who-
happened to
He
stumble.
just happened to like go with us. He saw that we were having cameras. He knew somebody that was in the van.
Missionary
And
friend.
He came on board, and he's this great wedding photographer from Kenya, and he had his guy, and he called him up, came from Kenya, from a camera shop on a little motorcycle.
Called them pickies.
Little pickies, yeah. And 4 hours later, we had an adapter out in the middle of nowhere.
Good brand. Was it Metabones?
No, it was what is it, Voltox?
Okay.
Yeah. It was great. I mean, it was.
Hey, it's better than not.
It
Better than the gaff tape.
It had the autofocus function too.
Yeah.
I was like,
the
this
whole
is
time
impressive.
Sam's got the box and he's like shaking, opening the. He's like, "This is the wrong one. There's no way they got the right part that quick from middle of nowhere out into the middle of nowhere."
Yeah.
And he like clicked it on there and was like, "Oh my god!"
That was it though. I mean, I was like, you get anything out in the bush, you know, Peaky Prime,
and it didn't cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was awesome.
That's good.
We made it happen.
It's funny.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
And
Thank you very
thanks,
much.
It's been a blast. And
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next time.
Both of you.
right.
Thank you.
Welcome to the audio only outro.
Oh, we should do a whole episode. I mean, we should start doing like some crazy blur out our faces in a dark room.
Talk really dark and low like this.
You should listen to Christians Talking About Shit podcast right now.
We're gonna come and break your legs.
We can come break your legs. Oh, man. Dude, we haven't had that many people in one room on this show. Challenging. I think we pulled it off, though.
I thought it went very smoothly.
We brought back the headphones. Everyone had very good mic etiquette.
Mm-hmm.
What an awesome venture that they're undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to hear him talk about meeting those other two Africans and them wanting to go to this village and start doing stuff, and then him just constantly going back out there and just gathering more funding, and it's sad that they're kind of at a standstill right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully something good will come out of this, and they'll hopefully be able to provide some fresh, clean water to them.
Yeah. No, it takes a lot of dedication, but yeah, links will be in the description.
Yep.
For any-
Definitely. Anybody listening, if you guys want to check that out, we're going to put the link in the description. Go on their website. They've got some pretty cool photos on their website, as well as Sam said he's going to get that video posted. We'll link that as well.
And the music video.
Oh yeah, there is a music video too. And you know what? It's a breath of fresh air to see a younger generation. Sam and the other guys are not that much younger than us, but still.
You're saying we're getting old.
We are getting old.
Happens to us all.
But to have like a heart for missions at such a young age, that's really awesome. Even Sam's stuff that he was talking about, over in Tyler, and how he now, after doing filmmaking for so long, he wants to kind of venture out and start doing more of this kind of stuff. It's like, that's really cool.
Yeah, no, doing something meaningful with your talents.
Yeah.
Doing it for God.
Yeah, and I hope we can get that message out there, as well as I know it's going to be good. I pulled up his website and pulled up couple other stuff that he did. Yeah, it looks fantastic.
He's a good filmmaker. Yeah,
it's gonna be really sweet. And that's what, I hate to say it, but that's what this Christian culture needs right now, is skilled, creative people stepping up.
Craftsmen.
Yeah, stepping up. Use that God-given talent, and let's push the kingdom forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where can we be found?
Hey guys, we can be found on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere that you can find a podcast. You can search for Christians Talking About Shit and get our RSS feed. Get it right there. Definitely want you to comment, to like, to share, get that algorithm buzzing, right? Even negative comments. We have had some negative comments in the past, but listen when I tell you.
Someone called us a hypocrite the other day. Said, you said the S word, you're a hypocrite. I'm like, I think we were talking about like profanity and our thoughts on profanity
You
But
gotta,
did you watch the whole short?
you gotta love the trolls. You gotta love it. I just sit back and laugh. I'm like, oh gosh. If you've been on the internet long enough, you know those trolls are out there. But hey, listen,
Don't read the comments.
Jesus loves you too. And we are going to try and love you just as Jesus commanded us to love you as well. So, we welcome any and all feedback. Bring it on. As soon as I said that out loud, I'm like, who knows what's going to happen now?
As long as there's engagement.
As long as there's engagement. Bye.